Hi, I'm Helen Kenna, Repository Manager at the University of Salford. I'm here today to talk about the misunderstandings that some of our academics at Salford have in regards to our repository, which we brand as USIR, and towards open access. And I'm just going to also outline some of the steps we're taking to alleviate some of these issues. Our repository service is operating well, and we have a good number of strong advocates for USIR and open access across the university. We're conscious though that we're always talking to the same people, and we wanted to undertake some work that would demonstrate the impact of our repository to those researchers not quite so actively engaged. The results of our work, I don't think have uncovered anything particularly new or that we hadn't already made assumptions about, but it's provided a good base of evidence for us to plan further advocacy. The work involved running the National Open Access Survey, and we also ran some focus groups. We invited Alma Swan to run these within the university. This is a survey we ran, which was developed by the RSP and UKCoRR. We ran this locally with our Salford researchers to look at their perceptions towards OA, and we were then able to compare the results to the UK national average. The chart here illustrates how our authors feel towards the principles of open access, and Salford results show slightly less favourable attitudes across the UK than compared to the UK as a whole. Some of the data suggests even that our researchers at Salford felt that they didn't yet have a decided position on open access. When asked about publishing in open access journals, again Salford responses were slightly less favourable. And some of the responses that you can see here are indications of the feelings and perceptions that some of our researchers have towards open access. We followed up this survey with some focus groups. As I mentioned, we invited Alma Swan to come and facilitate these for us. We selected participants to make sure that we had a good combination of strong advocates of open access, as well as people who hadn't engaged quite so actively with our repository. And these sessions uncovered a number of misconceptions. The first being copyright. Our authors are anxious of infringing copyright and are under the impression that if they make an error in this regard, they will be personally held responsible. The issue of a licence to publish was met with great interest from most of our researchers, with pleas for more help and support to pursue this route. In this instance, with approval from our research committee, we're producing an institutional author addendum to demonstrate our commitment to open access and to provide assurance that the university supports authors in this way of working. Another area of misunderstanding was versions. Some of our authors are quite reluctant to deposit their final version because they prefer the look and feel of the publisher version. Several times during our focus groups, it was expressed that people judge the quality of an article by seeing a PDF there. We have work to do in this area, clearly, and we need to explain to our researchers what can be deposited and why it should be in a native format. The majority of our authors are not yet aware of text and data mining and are unable, therefore, to appreciate the nuances of the formats and versions issue. Content was the next area. Our researchers rightly understand that content in USIR is linked to the ref. However, many of our authors thought that only ref material could be deposited. This, in fact, is untrue. We accept lots of material into our repository and have expanded it in order to accommodate different types of content. We want to encourage USIR as a place for all types of work, including works in progress. It's a safe place for all research outputs, not just formally published work. By doing this and encouraging our users to use it in this way, we hope to embed USIR in the research process as a whole. There was much discussion from our researchers in the creative arts areas. Their output is obviously practice-based, and they were under the impression and perceived that USIR wasn't really up to the task of displaying their work as they saw fit. It was too text-based focused. We had, in fact, already implemented and installed the Kucha plugin to ensure that our arts-based outputs were better displayed. The focus groups have prompted us to make our researchers more aware of how their work can be embedded and displayed into USIR. Finally, several people air the view that they don't have time to deposit their articles. Our authors also have to deposit into our expertise database, and there is much resistance to essentially doing the same task twice. However, all of our authors are busy, yet some are quite happy and able to deposit all of their papers, but others do not. We are integrating Seek and USIR, so this duplication of effort is a thing of past. However, I kind of think that there are some researchers that will always use this argument of not enough time, and will be concentrating on providing more data around the early advantage that open access can bring and promote OA impact to our researchers. We've undertaken lots of advocacy, and on the whole, I think it's working. Our early adopters of USIR are seeing lots of benefits. One of our authors said that once he deposited his work, he noticed a deposit by a colleague that had prompted a research conversation that could not have happened otherwise. We're using Open Access Week this year to give a big push to OA across the university and to encourage user engagement with USIR. We're implementing the recommendations from Alma's review and also developing some more subject-specific events to address different discipline needs. The results of this work have left us with the conclusion that even when time and effort has been put into advocacy programmes, people can still get things wrong and misunderstand. The work has given us a great opportunity to reflect on our OA work to date and to plan further advocacy in order to try and alleviate some of these misunderstandings. Thank you. Went through that.
Okay. Right, you can relax now. Okay, do you have any questions? Oh, we've got 2 questions here.
Oh, gosh.
I'll Neil first, though.
Be kind.
Thanks, Helen. That was really good. I was wondering how sympathetic you are to the idea that academics are super busy, because I hear that quite often as well. And the implication seems to be that academics, I'm sure academics are busy, but the implication seems to be that none of the rest of us are busy in our working lives. And are you sympathetic to that view, and what line do you take when you hear this?
I'm sympathetic to an extent. I think, as I said in the presentation, we have some researchers that are really engaged with USIR and deposit all of their work, and others who use that excuse of saying that they haven't got time. I don't know whether it's that they haven't got time or whether it's just they're too afraid to ask. They're too shy to come forward. Certainly with the focus groups, we've got quite a few comments from a couple of researchers that basically said that, right, I understand it more now, I understand what it's for, and I'd be happier about giving it a go. We had one researcher in particular that was very resistant to it, and my colleague Karen, who I co-authored this with, sat down with him, and actually he was like, what was I being afraid of? So we've definitely got more work to do, and I think the message just needs to get around a bit more. Does that answer? Yeah.
Hi, it's Alvia Loti from GISC. It's just more, it was about the kind of including works in progress, and it was kind of what I wanted to try and do is maybe hook you up to another project that's happening at GISC. It's called, via GISC, it's at Southampton, it's called Deposit More, and what they're looking at is facilitating deposit via the authoring environment. So it's a Microsoft Word application, and via Microsoft Word, it automatically deposits the versions within within the repository in the background. Now this is the second phase, but you might want to maybe hook up and see. I don't know. It's a question for you really. If you wanted to kind of see whether that would be possible.
I'm familiar with, not with the project as it is now, but yeah, I'm familiar with that concept of kind of going from Word straight into the repository. So yeah, is that the e-prints?
It's e-print. It's Southampton, and it's Les Carr and Dave Tarrant, and they're both here somewhere, whether they're in the room or not.
Thank you.
The second question was about the culture plugin. Again, it was another GISC funded project, but it was an e-prints plugin. So did you have to do quite a lot of configuration to make it fit with DSpace?
We have it quite easy at Salford. Our repository is hosted by ePrints, so from a technical point of view, we have very...
Oh, sorry, it is, your repository's
it's hosted through, yeah, by ePrints.
Okay, that's right. I misheard. I thought you said it was DSpace.
Oh, no, no.
That's fine, that's it.
Thank you.